Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. So we're doing CANSIPS Saturday. For today's second video, I'm going to go 6 months ahead with the long-range Canadian model. It's going to take us right way through into the first half of 2017, can you believe, next year. I think we're going up to May with this particular update, so quite a way ahead. And of course, it's just for fun, really. The first couple of months should have some scientific merit to them because they're only a couple of months away. So if the model is working correctly, then it hopefully has at least somewhat of the correct signal for those couple of months. So as you go 3, 4, 5, 6 months out, it's not to be relied upon. Actually, I could go further than that. I could go right way to October 2017 with this update. But I'm going to draw the line at May, because anything beyond that we're getting a bit silly, I think, really, and even going into the spring months is highly dubious. The chances are there, so I might as well look at them, but don't take it too seriously. So I'll get on with that for you in a moment. The website we're using is tropicaltidbits.com. You find the link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page, by the way. Get on with CANSIPS Saturday in a moment. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all of the pages. Have a browse widgets, click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you'll be having to page website. Thanks so much to doing that. There's also video ads to most pages, which open that content. When you watch that close, we're going to be again. They close back up again, and it does help to pay the gas because I'm rattling through because I've got a bit of a cough tonight when I'm doing the video. I'm trying to get it done as quickly as I can. Sorry about that. I've actually got a glass of water, so I might need to stop and have a bit of a drink of water in a moment. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, weekend forecast was released earlier today, and that's quite an interesting one. You can find videos of that by scrolling down the page a bit. It's underneath the link ad, so check that out. Going to be quite a cold start to the week, certainly, and then around middle last stage of the week it might begin to try and get a bit milder, but there's a lot of uncertainty associated with that. And also there's the written version, you get to that via buttons at the top of the page. Right, let's get on with CANSIPS Saturday. I'll talk about what's coming up tomorrow at the end of the video. So we're going to start off with the mean sea level pressure anomalies for the next 6 months, and then we'll have a look at the corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with these heights. So we're starting in December next month, as we always do. We did have a little sneak peek at the first few of these charts when we did the live event with Quantum on Wednesday evening. So if anybody didn't see that, I thought I'd better do CANSIPS Saturday for you tonight. So we've got the ridge of above average heights, high pressure there around the UK for December. It looks like quite an anticyclonic signal, that also extending into central parts of Europe as well. Low pressure looks like it's out to the north and to the west, with the jet stream probably doing something a bit like that. So the coldest of the air is going down in towards east and southeastern Europe and western Russia with that. Now the model is probably going to show mild and average temperatures. Keep in mind that if we've got above average pressure around the UK in December, it's likely to be cold, but it's not Arctic cold. It's not a depth of Arctic or Siberian cold. It's just sort of inversion type cold. Inversion is where you get frost and fog as the heat radiates out to space during the long nights that you get in winter. The heat will quickly radiate away, and so it turns cold on the surface and produces frost and fog, and that can keep temperatures very cold, really. You can stay sub-zero in December in frost and fog, but it's not the true Arctic or Siberian cold that produces snow and that type of weather. But nevertheless, the model will show probably a milder than average month. I haven't actually looked at temperature anomaly yet, but I think the model will show a milder than average month. But it could be significantly colder than that if there's a lot of high pressure through the course of December. The model is unable to see that low level surface cold. It's looking at the conditions aloft, and they, under that sort of high pressure, will be quite mild. Now this is a little bit more interesting for January. We find heights rising to the north. Now there is a little bit of a low pressure still around Iceland. Of course, we know that the mean setup in the winter will be positive NAO, so you tend to have low pressure on Iceland, high pressure around the Azores. And even when you get a lot of high pressure around Greenland and Iceland in the winter, there will still be remnants of those areas of low pressure that you tend to get in the north at this time of the year. The anomaly, though, looks pretty positive there through Greenland. So there is a hint, I think, that we could be seeing hints, anyway, of northern blocking, and maybe hints of a little bit of a southerly tracking jet stream. Hard to say for us, but if you come over here, there's definitely hints, I think, of the trough being in over Scandinavia. So for them, for Scandinavia, I know a lot of people are watching from Scandinavia, these days, so big hello to all of you watching in Scandinavia. And if you do get that trough in over Scandinavia with pressure high over Greenland, then you're going to have quite a cold month in January there. For the UK, the signal isn't as clear cut, but there could be some cold potential in there for the UK. Certainly more so than we see in December. It's changed again, so all 3 winter months are looking significantly different from one another. So we go through to February, month 3, when confidence obviously is falling, but now we find a reversion really back to the traditional winter pattern, which is a positive NAO. So we have high pressure around the Azores, this sort of area. We've got low pressure all up here. We're bringing the jet stream through the country like that and sending it into Europe as well. So that just looks a westerly Atlantic driven type pattern there for the 3rd and final month of the winter. Probably mild, potentially a little bit stormy, perhaps for the north. But just a mild westerly Atlantic driven signal there for February. Interesting about all 3 winter months here are all individually different. So there's no overall pattern driving this. There'll be a lot of intra-month variation, maybe even week by week and even day by day, big variations taking place with this kind of a winter that is changing from month to month. I think this is something Terry Scoley, our long-range forecaster that we have working with us at Downs, with Terry, has sort of been hinting at in his longer range updates. Maybe we could see quite a lot of intra-month variation through this winter, which would make for a very interesting winter, if nothing else. Now we go through into March. We're 4 months out now, so it's just in the realm of being just for fun. Really, March being signalled to have a lot of anticyclonic influence. So all change again from the February pattern. This is another big change. And this one may be hinting that the high pressure is centred slightly to the north and northeast. It looks like it's centred really over UK, but if we come up and see the above average heights extending up here, we may be bringing some colder air through, I think, with that from the east. Difficult to say. It would only take a very subtle adjustment, certainly, to be placing us into colder air from the east. So that could be a fairly coldish month in March, potentially. So December looking dry, frosty, but otherwise a fairly mildish sort of signal. January, possibly the coldest signal of all the winter months, with heights rising over Greenland. February just looks a mild zonal month, and then March, change again. It's back to high pressure. This time we could bring in some colder air from the east, maybe. All change again for April. Very, very changeable update. This one, month 5, we've got low pressure out to the west. I think we just bring that low pressure through on a west-southwesterly, so that looks relatively unsettled. There are hints, excuse me, there are hints. Well, we have got a bit of high pressure in the Atlantic and going up towards Greenland as well. So there might be some colder air being entrenched into that low pressure. But I think overall it's just an Atlantic-driven signal for April. And then for May, we go through to the final month of the spring. And that one looking quite changeable as well. Low pressure up to the north. High pressure looks like it's centred, or slightly above average pressure looks like it's centred in the middle part of the Atlantic. Probably bringing the jet stream through again. So I would have thought that is also likely to be a relatively changeable and possibly quite cool month as well that we've got going on there in May. 6 months away, so don't worry about it. Let's have a look at the temperature anomalies then. So this is how the temperatures are looking for December. Slightly milder than average. Most of Europe also having a milder than average month, interestingly. Now, as I explained, the model is unable to see inversion cold. It's unable to see the kind of surface cold that produces frost and fog. It's just looking at the dynamics of the upper atmosphere, which would be fairly mild based on its pressure anomaly. So it's thinking that you're going to have a mild month. It could be quite a lot cooler than that. If there's a lot of high pressure going on through December, then it's possible you could have a lot of frost and fog, which will limit the temperatures. January turns cooler. Now, this is quite surprising. I'm not sure why this is happening, but look how Scandinavia and most of Eastern Europe is generally seem to be milder than average. I'm not at all sure about that. What we were seeing from the sea level pressure anomaly was a troughing across Scandinavia, with pressure high, albeit there is still some hints of low pressure around Iceland, but with pressure high around Greenland, you would have thought we are likely to be seeing quite a cold month in January across Scandinavia. For the UK, temperature anomaly is close to average, so there is a bit of a cool down from December through to January. Nothing spectacularly cold by any means, but a little bit of a cool down taking place there from December to January. February also coming out with average temperatures and a very mild month being signalled for many northern and northeastern parts of Europe. Again, interesting. You're certainly a lot milder than average. Bear in mind, these are anomalies. So if we've got an anomaly across northern Scandinavia of around 4, 5, 6 degrees above average, by my standards, by UK standards, that's still going to be a pretty cold month, of course, because it's a cold place. But it is signalling a milder than average winter for much of northern Europe. For the UK, again, we're not doing too badly, really. There aren't many places in Europe forecasted to have a colder than average month. So to be around average, we are actually in the UK one of the coldest places in Europe. We move through into March, and now, of course, confidence is falling. March comes out close to average. Notice most parts of Europe also looking at losing at it significantly milder than average signal. So March might be the coldest month of all of this in terms of the anomaly anyway for Northern Europe. April comes out with near normal temperatures for the UK. Most of Europe looks milder than average. That's just the Atlantic-driven one, remember, in April. And then May also comes out average. Notice again, milder than average for most parts of Europe. Difficult to say what's causing this. But you'll notice on that chart from May, and I think many of the charts that we've been going through have looked like this, there is hardly any blue, any cold and average temperature anomalies anywhere in the northern hemisphere. Anyway, you have got plenty of blue down across the southern hemisphere, cold and average temperatures down there around the South Pole and in the far southern hemisphere. But most parts of the northern hemisphere, there's the equator just there, most parts of the northern hemisphere, except for in the middle of the Atlantic, signal to be generally milder than average. And I would have thought that's very unlikely. You will get some places that are colder. So it could be that these areas that are coming out of average temperatures, which is just here, and maybe down here, these sort of areas that are coming out with average temperatures, they might actually be colder than average in actuality. That's May, of course, so it's 6 months away, but it's just, so not to be taken seriously at all, but I'm just making the point, but where we've got those white areas, let's come back to December, so where we've got these areas of average temperatures, which is a lot of America, much of the Atlantic in December, over here in central parts of Russia, up here, it might be that these areas are colder than the model is suggesting. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Finally, have a look at the, well, not quite finally, because have a look at sea surface temperature anomalies last, but sort of penultimately, having a look at the precipitation anomalies. So December is coming out slightly drier than average. I would have thought it's likely to be a little bit drier, actually, than that suggests. Many central parts of Europe also coming out drier than average. It looks like a fairly anticyclonic signal for December. For January, again, it's average precipitation. Notice many northern parts of the Atlantic are coming out drier than average, hinting at ridging potentially there. It's a bit hard to make it out. There is a little bit of green in just there, which might be telling us that the jet stream is running through something a bit like that. Hard to decipher that, but it's possible jet stream could be in that sort of position. Notice Scandinavia is generally coming out with above average precipitation, indicative of that trough in across Scandinavia that I was talking about. So again, if you've got a trough just here, if you've got a ridge just here, then the jet stream is going to be doing that. And that's going to be cold for Scandinavia. Even though the model says mild, don't believe that. It's going to be cold for Scandinavia if you've got a trough in over Scandinavia and you've got a ridge in the North Atlantic. February looks like this. Now, February is quite surprising because it looked like a really Atlantic driven type pattern with low pressure around here and high pressure down here. So we have got plenty of dry weather through here where you'd expect it to be if you've got a strong Azores high, but you expect this area to be wetter with the jet stream coming through. So again, not quite sure what's going on there, but I don't think it makes a great deal of sense for northern parts of the Atlantic anyway. You'd expect it to be quite wet, and that extending to the north of Scotland into Scandinavia in February. March coming out drier than average again, so a fairly dry signal, you have to say, in terms of the precipitation on it. It's a dry signal going through into the spring, and then you get through into April and May, months 5, month 6, and May are looking average with the precipitation. So a real mixed bag from this update from CANSIPS Saturday. Really does look like a very, very changeable 6 months ahead, with no pattern really dominating throughout the period. Finally, having a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies, just so you can see what it's predicting for ENSO in the Equatorial Pacific for the next 6 months. So this is November, and there's a signature for the really weak, borderline neutral to weak La Nina that we have had through the second half of 2016. We go through into December last month, and we find that the eastern part of the Equatorial Pacific is starting to warm a little bit. So the weak La Nina signal is ending there. In the central part of the Equatorial Pacific, the really weak, borderline neutral to weak La Nina continues. Start of 2017 finds further weakening of that those cold and average temperature anomalies. So by the time we get through into March, it's basically all over. Not that it really amounted to very much. And notice warming is beginning to reappear, or warm sea surface temperature is beginning to reappear here through the eastern part of the Equatorial Pacific, and as we move on into the spring, this takes us to May, this takes us to June, this takes us to July. We've gone further than the 6 months that I normally do, but into the summer, and we still have the signature of El Nino re-emerging there from Peru to Indonesia. It looks like El Nino is coming back next summer with CANSIPS. Now, it's reduced that signature quite a bit. The last couple of updates of CANSIPS Saturday have shown quite strong El Nino conditions setting up by next summer. It's reduced that to a much more weaker, more moderate type El Nino event. But the idea is still there from the model that next summer, summer 2017, it's back to El Nino. We'll see how that goes. That's a very, very long way off, and the model can't really, I don't think, predict ENSO conditions with reliability this far out. But it's doing that signature every month, which is quite interesting, quite consistent with it. So we'll see how it goes and see how things pan out. Back to the next 6 months then, and concentrate on the winter really, December, January, February. So there's no clear-cut signal for the winter months. It looks like December has a lot of anticyclonic influences, fairly mild with the position of high pressure, but it could produce frost and fog, which lowers the temperatures. January looks like it's our best prospect, something a bit colder. Pressure rises in the North Atlantic and possibly around Greenland. That could give us some cold shots from the north. And then February looks like it's back to the westerlies and Atlantic-driven weather. Beyond that, we're into months 4, 5 and 6 and not worth worrying about. Right, that's it for CANSIPS Saturday. Don't forget to check out Weekend Broadcast if you would like to do that. And tomorrow we have got the 8th update for the winter of 2016. Excuse me, again. For the winter of 2016-2017. That'll be with you on the homepage from 10 o'clock in the morning, and then it'll be placed on the winter updates page later on in the day with a written summary. Also, tomorrow I've got the 3rd update for Christmas. That'll be on the Christmas updates page as well. So a big day coming up, loads of updates. Keep checking back for more. And just to say about the Amazon shop, because I didn't mention it at the start, but if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, please do it via Gav's shop. The link is underneath this video on the home page. Go to Gav's shop and then click through the Amazon banners, that's the key, and it'll take you to Amazon where you do your Christmas shopping. Because you've gone from Gav's Webbies to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you are purchasing. You don't need to do anything differently other than click from Gav's Webbies to Amazon. Right, that's all for now. Come back tomorrow for the 8th winter update. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.